Okay, so I negotiated a deal where my buyer got $45,000 from the seller, and they were not trying to give it up. So I'm talking about the major builder here, the Fortune 500 builder, Lennar. Structure contracts, tight timelines, not a lot of room to play with. And we still walked away with it, 45K. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I did it and exactly how we got there so you can do it too. Get your seller credits and walk away clean, baby. Okay. So this all started out, this was, I think it would have been, ooh, this would have been in early 2025. I had a buyer looking for a new construction out in the Chicago suburb. This is a pretty normal situation. The builder had new inventory, rates were pretty high, payments were tight, and on the surface, it felt like this was going to be an overwhelming deal. But what I didn't know is I had a buyer that was with the VA. When you have a VA deal, sometimes the rates are a little bit better. They can get in for a little bit less. So we went to see what they had. We liked it. My buyers liked it. The builders liked that my buyers were ready. They already had the money ready. They were pre-approved, but then they ended up working with the builders because that's how builders position it. You get what you get. We got what we got. They liked it. They built it up from the ground up. They got the amenities. And then they gave you their incentives up front and made it feel like you were getting a deal. So that's how they get you. You come in, they have all these signs about all these promotions and programs that they have, and they reel you in. But in all reality, we didn't know that that's not where the real opportunity was at. So then when we came into this deal, we were not just looking at the price. We were looking at what can actually be moved. Because at the initial negotiation, we were able to secure like almost $30,000 in seller credits. Yes, seller credits, which already we had put our buyer in an immaculate position to close on this deal because we had already negotiated somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 in seller credits at the initial onset of our deal. But that's where most people would have gotten stuck at, and they would have just stopped right there. But we didn't, because a lot of new construction deals, they get under contract, people relax, things drag out, and people don't realize that when things start to drag out, especially with a new builder, that's when you have the most leverage to get your seller credits. See, people think of seller credits like something you don't really get. Sellers are never willing to give anything up on their property. But when the seller thinks that they have a buyer ready, they will do anything to keep that deal, even if it means giving up a little bit of the profit that they thought that they were going to make on the deal, as long as they can make just a profit. So that's what happened. Things started dragging out. My buyer was getting impatient. And just to give you a little backstory, my buyer was pregnant. So it was like my buyer had a lot of stuff going on. And in order for them to make everything work and happen on the right timeline, they would have to be moved in by a certain date. Turns out the builders were not able to perform. We ended up having to negotiate to get more seller credits out of the builder. And that's where the opportunity showed, because as we got closer to the closing and the seller didn't perform cleanly and we had timing issues, execution issues, things like that on paper, it might seem small, but that's where it started tallying up, and you would, since Lennar was the mortgage lender, we were able to get seller credits from the lender side, we were able to get seller credits from the builder side, and my buyer left 40 plus K in the green, no money out of pocket on closing day, because we negotiated and we structured that deal from the very beginning. Now, why am I telling you this story, and how does this affect you? I'm telling you this because seller credits are equally as important, if not more important, than down payment assistance. Seller credits are something that you can rely on because you have your inspection, you have your appraisal, you have your mortgage contingencies. Those are all different things that typically people think are on the buyer. But when you have an inspection and certain things come back and you realize you might have to pay more for this unit after closing, you can take that to the seller and negotiate your property down. that is indirectly a seller credit where you get to negotiate your property down based on certain things that come back from the inspection. Or let's say the seller is like, well, I'm going to be out of town, but I'll give you a point on closing. That's a seller credit. You just got a percentage off of your close. Like that's you have to take these things as wins and understand that the more money you make in your deals, the more opportunities you'll have to leverage your sellers to be able to close more cleanly. For first-time home buyers, a lot of people ignore this and they don't realize that they actually have an immense amount of leverage. But what I'm here to tell you is not only do you have leverage, but that leverage is designed. So you have to keep moving forward. You have to keep pressing forward. These people want you to close on their homes. They want you to move. They want you to buy. So you have to take them up on the opportunity. If anything drags out, if they don't do what the contract says, if they don't hold up to their word, you have to get that on paper and make sure that you get a reparation for them not abiding by their word. Or you can just get out the contract, because these contracts you got to have multiple parties. You can't just have one person agreeing and doing everything that they're supposed to do and the other person is not. You have to get your leverage in where you can. So those timing issues, those execution issues, they seem small, but in contract, on paper, they actually matter a lot. And that's where a lot of people, they just let it slide and they just want to close. They just want to get their deal. They don't want to risk it. They don't want to create tension. We did the opposite. My buyer was ready to walk away. My buyer had other properties that they were looking at. They were ready to move on different units in different areas, and they weren't, it was nice. They liked the area. But my buyer wasn't so strung down to that one unit in that one area with that one builder that they couldn't move on and go to something else. And we let them know that, and they came back to us. We let them know that, not emotionally, not strategically, but we let them know that if you all can't perform and you can't repair the damages that have been done for you not executing on your contract in a timely and effective manner, you either have to repair the damages and then move forward on a timely schedule by our timeline, not yours, or we just walk away. I'm sure somebody else would love to have a good qualified buyer ready to buy a home. Turns out they had a little bit of chump change in their pocket and they were able to say sorry on closing day. That's how you know we came out ahead. When the builders and the title company are all apologizing and giving you candy and shaking your hand on closing day, let me tell you something. You won. You don't ever make nobody give you $40,000 and crack a smile and then say sorry. That's only something you get working with me, baby. That's only something you get working with me. And I'm just keeping it a buck. Look, that's something you only get working with me. Normally, I don't get too, I'm not too in my, I don't like to toot my own horn or whatever, but you don't get somebody as dedicated to buying homes as me. Like I mean that from the bottom of my heart. When we talk about this process, I want to make sure that the seller wins too and they come out in the green. But we're talking about a new build. They can afford to literally sell that home at $150,000. Let's be for real. So they can afford to give you $20,000, $40,000, $30,000 at closing. They can afford it, they can pocket it, and they did. And not only that, they pocketed and we came in under asking. So on top of the money that we got at the closing table, we also got the property about $10,000 to $20,000 less than what they were asking for it. We won. We structured that deal so my buyer won and the seller left in the green. We all won on that day. And that's what I mean when I say real estate is a game and you have to play the game. You have to know where your leverage is, because clarity is leverage. And that's what I'm here to tell people. Clarity is leverage, baby.